People whose first relationship was very long term. What weird thing did you believe was normal until you started seeing other people? I texted my then new girlfriend about where I was and who I was with about every 30 minutes. After the third time, she told me that she didn't need to get updates on what I was doing and to just let her know when I got home safe. I remember feeling almost a physical weight being lifted off my chest because I didn't have to worry about my girlfriend freaking out if I didn't update her. I learned what trust felt like that night. I'm actually amazed at how many married couples are this way. I just thought it was common sense to trust your spouses doing what they said they were doing. No point in being crazy until there is a reason to be. In the words of my shrink, worrying doesn't change the outcome. It applies in a lot of situations. Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Van Wilder. He had a birth defect which left him with 2 holes in the tip of his pen. 15. I thought one was for pee and the other was for sperm. My next boyfriend was very confused when I asked him why he only had 1 hole. This is actually funny. A lot of these responses are extremely dark. At the end of my dick is a hole, he declared. I've looked in the mirror, I've gazed and I've stared. I've glanced at the place on the pecker below, and that's how I know that I know that I know. My wiener, as any can see, it ends in a hole that's as cute as can be. It leads to a place, to a space in the skin, and when you can view it, it's time to begin. Remember the hole in my member? He spoke, he turned to the nearest and dearest of folk. A hole in my wiener, he whispered with pride. The other was frowning. Just one, he replied. You're not supposed to have 2 holes? Hypospadias, I'm guessing. I never knew it was a thing until my son was born with it. He had corrective surgery when he was a couple of years old and has had 0 issues. My first BF only had 1 testicle. I have to say, I preferred it. Did it make its way to the center of the sack or just hang around in its old position? Unibald man here. It tends to just hang in the center most of the time, but when it's particularly cold outside, it tucks nicely up onto the left side. A bittersweet victory, as I've just given any resourceful enemy of mine tactical information on where to strike during a cold winter's night. Your partner should actually make an effort to spend time with you. You shouldn't have to surprise them to spend any time with them. This makes me sad. Yeah, it sucked. I enjoyed the time I did manage to spend with her so much though, that I couldn't end things. I don't blame her though. She was struggling with depression, and it was difficult for her to find the energy to do anything. Well, get this guy as your boyfriend, cause at least he got experience. And I loved you, and I love you, for I tried to hold the spark, but the brightest stars above you couldn't make it through the dark. See, I tried my best at coping, and I longed to make you see that I spent a long time hoping we'd be how we used to be. You could blame me, you could shame me, though I burned to see it through. But I hope that you don't blame me. I just can't be there for you. I lived the exact thing. I know exactly what you felt, and I feel sorry that it had to be that way for both of us. I broke up with mine last May. I enjoyed my time with her, but she had so many problems, both with herself and at home with her parents. As a good boyfriend, I did everything to be supportive, up to an extent, as she didn't do much to help herself at all on her part. At some point it starts dragging you down, and the relationship starts bleeding inherently. I ended it in good terms, but I'm glad that I did. My own happiness was severely starting to suffer as well, and I had no more strength and energy left to fight for our relationship after 9 months, as it was going nowhere. All you can do is be thankful for the memories at least, and move on with an experience for better relationships after. I'm breaking up with my girlfriend tomorrow and needed to see this. Thank you. That some girls in a relationship don't like to kiss as often as others. I'm just talking about pecs. When I/GF gets home, etc. I always enjoyed a hello kiss, but I guess some girls don't. r/herpes_free_ since_73 with a username like that, I would have also been a little hesitant to get a peck. Why? They've literally said they haven't had an issue in almost 50 years. It's heartwarming to realize that there are girls who are as into kissing as I am. My ex wasn't into kissing very much. I would lick the side of my first girlfriend's face like a dog and she loved it. My second girlfriend slapped me when I tried it. For me, you won the competition here. X had a thing for being and doing licked inside your ear. Not on the outside, but like tongue in hole. I found it to be so gross. I don't mind like the outside, but I'm not diving into wax city time. It wasn't super long term, only about a year, but when you're in high school that's fairly long term. My ex was a very clingy dude, sweet but would follow me around every social gathering and get jealous of me spending time with my friends. When I started dating the guy who is now my husband, I remember looking around at a party early on of mostly my friends that he hadn't met before, and I couldn't find him. I asked someone where he was, and he was out by the fire with a group of people chatting and hanging out. I was astonished that we could just go our separate ways in a social setting, and that was totally fine. We didn't have to be attached at the hip the whole time. When I say he would follow me around, I literally mean he never left my side. And these were parties and things where he knew everyone as well. At one point my friend was upset, so I went into a bedroom with her and another friend to talk to her, and within 5 minutes he came into the room. And even though this was obviously private, he just stood in there, and I did tell him multiple times that we didn't constantly have to be beside each other. If you and your partner like to hang out at parties, that's fine, but it was suffocating to me. He was jealous of my friends and complained when I would make plans with them. Honestly, we were young, and he's probably a totally fine dude now. We were just not right together. As a clingy guy trying to not be, what would you say is the appropriate amount of time to be with your partner? Be friends at a party? Don't think of it as appropriate amount of time. If you are hanging out and chatting along with your girl, that's cool. But if you are just standing there while she is talking, that is being clingy. Also depends on the setting. If you're at a party where you know everyone and she doesn't know very many people, it may not be appropriate to leave her alone at all. It doesn't hurt anyone to talk about it first. If both know everyone at the party, split up and trust each other. This was something my fiance didn't understand when I first started going to functions with her family. I knew no one in the room, and she would often get caught up talking with people across the room without introducing me to anyone, and would wonder why I didn't have the best time. It's a lot better now that I've spent a few years around them, but it was pretty irritating for a minute. It's still kind of tough since I'm a manager at a fast food restaurant, and a lot of the men in her family are contractor/construction workers or involved in that business somehow, so a lot of conversations end up on that side of things, but I at least see them often enough that I can have small talk with them that makes sense. My ex did this. We'd go to a party with a lot of people not like me, and she'd truck off without introducing me to anyone. So I'd get a beer and stand around, but it was tough not really knowing anyone. Being designated driver meant I had to nurse one beer while everyone else, including her, got wasted. This is morbid, but I thought it was normal to argue every day. I thought all couples have their bickering, and it was just a regular thing. I was astounded when I went into my next relationship and actually got on with the guy, and went weeks and weeks without having any issues. It always felt like the bubble was going to burst. Goes to show, don't stay in a relationship just because you've already invested a ton of time. You get one life, spend it with someone who makes you laugh every day. My parents' relationship was like this. When I met my current partner, I told him I would never get married because I don't see the point in being stuck in an argument for the rest of my life. His response was, okay, well, if we communicate, I don't see why we would be always arguing. I didn't get it and didn't want to get into it. One day we were communicating and the conversation was intense, not even arguing/raised voices, and he said, let's take a break from this. I'm feeling frustrated, and I just sat there dumbfounded like, what? You aren't gonna yell at me? Yeah, I grew up hearing my parents scream at each other on a fairly regular basis. I was very put off from relationships in general for some time because of what I saw them do to each other and our family. My brothers and I were pretty trucked up for a good while. When I met my late wife, she and I got along so well I had trouble registering it as a genuine relationship. We certainly had our differences and arguments, but if things started getting heated, we'd just take some time to cool off. I actually felt better after arguments because we'd come to an understanding of how the other felt. It was like dating my best friend. Our arguments were actually just like debates. I poop you not. We often use source material a lot when we would get into it. She was also a redditor, if that provides some context. What I learned is that having differences of opinion as couples is healthy because it shows that you're still your own people with your own separate beliefs. However, having arguments get to the point of a fight is not healthy. People's love languages are all different. It's especially jarring when you have a lot of experience doing things a certain way and then finding out that isn't what somebody else needs. It can take some work to figure out what's inherent to yourself and what was learned from your partner. This is super valid, and I feel like it applies to other types of relationships too. Learning about different ways people express affection for each other and why they might do it that way was a big help for understanding my mom. For me, I express and understand affection by spending time with someone. But my mom never really wanted to spend much time with me and didn't appreciate me trying to spend a lot of time with her. It made me feel really unimportant and a bit unloved at times. But then I came across this site talking about different kinds of showing care and found one that fit her perfectly on it. Showing affection by doing things for someone, not with them, but for them, to make their lives easier. My mom had been trying all that time to show she cared by doing little things for me all the time. Things I often hardly even thought to notice. And that was probably why she would get so upset when she asked me to do some small thing for her and then I forgot. Me forgetting to do that small and seemingly unimportant thing probably made her feel unimportant and unloved. Figuring that out has really helped me understand her. This was my experience. It took me a while after my previous relationship/engagement ended to figure out the difference between this feels completely wrong and this is different than what I'm used to. I ended up going down a road I didn't want to be on at first because I was reading bad signs as just differences between people or even so much as live a little. Get out of your comfort zone. Once I found the right person it still felt different, like a learning experience, but it didn't feel wrong, or like I was pushing any of my personal boundaries. I guess my takeaway to share for others is that it's okay if new experiences with new people feel new and unfamiliar, but if they feel incorrect, don't write that off as new. I thought most guys liked having their nipples played with because my first ex did. My second boyfriend was so confused when I started licking his titty mayo. Bro, I love when girls do this. My first girlfriend never did, so I didn't think it was normal. Then my second girlfriend did this and would also lick inside my ear when we were banging, which is like another G-spot lol. I would never think of these things.